The ending of the incredible digital circus leaked, and any chance of having a sequel or a continuation was pretty much cancelled because the creator gave up on the project. And basically a farewell letter saying that she no longer has any emotion or feeling for the series. It's pretty clear that there's not much of a future here, and even less chance of a second season. And the situation keeps getting worse, since Glitch's fans started attacking the company itself precisely because it keeps pushing merch tied to all this. I know it's a very tense situation, and I wanted to cover and talk about this here on the channel a long time ago, but man, you can't talk about Digital Circus now without getting into this leak issue because the leak is really brutal. It involves Brazil. Does it involve voice actors? No, it doesn't involve voice actors. Some names have already been mentioned, plus Glitch is in real trouble. Let me cover all of this in this video, alright? I'm not gonna give any spoilers, but it's good for you to understand because this will help you, for example, understand how this animation market works, especially the independent one. Leave a like because I'll cover all this in the video. Man, the leak of the ending of Digital Circus was brutal here. It happened in the middle of this week, people couldn't believe it, and a lot of people didn't understand what was going on. Glitch is taking down all the videos and posts that are putting the whole movie online, but this has turned into a cat and mouse game. The more people upload it to the internet, the more actions Glitch will take, but even more people will keep sharing it. What's the most intense issue in this whole story about the ending of Digital Circus? It's that it was leaked by a group of Brazilians. Yes, Brazilians leaked it. It wasn't just one person, it was several. Man, like, I saw information and I saw people talking both behind the scenes and through contacts. And man, I'll tell you, honestly, knowing who the person was, the guy, the girl, no, it's not independent, you know? The leaked file has names applied as a watermark, because that's how it's usually done, right? The distribution so they can, deliver the dubbing file, the reference file to the dubbing studio for mixing and all that. And I saw some people saying, that there was a voice actor who supposedly leaked it. Man, that's not what happened. Forget it, for God's sake. No voice actor leaked it precisely because the voice actor doesn't have access to the files, okay? When the voice actor goes to the studio to record the sequence of scenes assigned to that character, they don't even have access to the file. Usually, in 99% of cases, the guy doesn't even know what he's dubbing. He only finds out what he's going to dub when he's inside the booth. So, the guy doesn't even have context for the ending. He'll only see the finished project later if he wants to. Usually, voice actors themselves don't like to rewatch their own work. I don't know, I've heard that a lot too. But this issue here wasn't caused by a voice actor. The file for the ending of Circus Digital literally had the complete Brazilian Portuguese dubbing, and everyone started criticizing Brazil precisely because of that. And it could have made the situation even worse for Brazilians because when it comes to talking about Brazil in this case, they could criticize, for example, the lack of security and so on. But Brazil is a benchmark in dubbing production, not only because of the highly qualified professionals who work for crumbs, since we are really underpaid here in Brazil, but also because Brazilian dubbing has always been praised around the world. It's always been like that, and I believe it always will be, as long as human voice actors keep working. But then comes that question, man, is this going to harm Brazilians? I'll be very honest with you and say no, and the reasons are pretty clear, okay? When it comes to dubbing production here, man, I believe that some companies might use this case if it gets even more attention the way it is as an excuse or reason not to want to dub in Brazil. They might say this directly, but it's very common to see companies that have the money to dub and simply choose not to dub in Brazil. An example of this was Nintendo itself, which until recently wasn't dubbing, and now that they've started, we can see that they're taking a stricter approach. Yeah, for those who don't know, when people go to dub something from Nintendo, there's a representative who comes to the studio to check everything in person. That's not the case with Glitch, which I imagine doesn't have someone present here, but that's what happens with these other projects. The question is, will Glitch keep working dubbing its projects? I imagine so, because Brazil is a place where, man, if your work depends on the internet, mentioning Brazil is great. Why? Brazilians are chronically online, people earn little, so they're on the internet all the time because it's free. Having an audience like that interacting and engaging is good to boost your numbers and use that as leverage to try to sell merch around the world and also to reach and break algorithms in your favor. But when it comes to Brazil, I imagine she will want to keep working because it would make perfect sense here. The thing is, I'm afraid something like what happened with the Circus Digital pilot might happen. I don't know why, but people here are kind of new and don't remember how the Circus pilot went. For many people in Brazil, their first contact with Circus Digital was through a fan dub. I can't recall the name right now, but that fan dub made it go viral in Brazil and many people discovered it that way. And I think that's why Glitch also decided to speed up the dubbing so they could, for example, put Brazil on their radar. I don't have any data, I don't have any confirmation of anything, but I could assume. And I imagine that Glitch just wasn't that interested at first in only dubbing, for example, Digital Circus in Brazil precisely because of that. Because Brazil is a country that doesn't buy a lot of things because it doesn't have much money. There's engagement, but there's no money, and people don't buy that many things. For God's sake, you see people out there selling things for 10 reais and people don't have money to pay, just like with Super Chat. If you look at the comments on this video, you won't see any comment with a super chat for 10 rays nobody has money, right? In fact, I'd like you to prove me wrong. My fear is that they'll start going back to this pattern here, but I believe that would be out of desperation and just a theory. That's not what's going to happen. But the future of Circo Digital is actually seriously compromised here, because you see Circo made a lot of money and did a lot of things around the world. The creator is rich. Glitch definitely made a lot of money from this too, and I believe that Glitch will want to continue with Circo Digital. But the creator, she wants to step away. She released a statement here. I'll put it on the screen so you can see it. It was literally this text here. This description, you can pause to read it. It's literally her saying that she doesn't care anymore, she doesn't have any feelings about it, she made her show, made her cartoon, the animation was very successful, and with that, she simply doesn't want to work with the amazing Digital Circus anymore. After delivering the final episode and basically wrapping up her time with the project, which I think is a shame, because a lot of people would like to see other series from the circus, like a prequel, showing the first adventures inside the Digital Circus. Chaim getting crazier and crazier before Pamini. What happened to the other abstractions, the origin of the circus, and even a possible series about the origin of CNA? That would be pretty interesting in this story. Like, there's a lot of story to tell. But I believe that even with these extra stories, I believe Glitch could get back to working on this, even knowing that this leak messed everything up. Man, come on. The circus got a lot of views, a lot of money for them. They wouldn't want to drop a golden goose all of a sudden. They could expand more if the creator doesn't want to get involved, because she already suffered a lot of hate, and it wasn't just a little hate. She got hate because of the delay of some episodes, or even because of the Netflix drama. That was back at the beginning when some episodes were taking a long time to come out there. Then about the lack of Hagata as the main character. So there was a lot going on. She was already like shutting down her social media. The Hagata drama, for example, was by far the one that affected the creator the most. She deleted some social media accounts. Like, that was enough for people to notice that there's a problem talking about the circus. Then comes the leak. People are not respecting the Digital Circus leak. Like, Glitch doesn't want this to spread, but people keep spreading it. Every time I go on TikTok, someone is posting the leaked ending. So like, what do you have to do? On any social media platform you open, you just go straight to the channel you know. My channel, for example. I'm not gonna post anything about the Digital Circus. Nothing about the ending until the 4th after I watch it in the theater. And I know there are people canceling their tickets because they saw it and they saw it dubbed. Man, I'm telling you, the Digital Circus is something you have to see in the theater. It's one of the rarest opportunities you'll have to watch it on a movie screen, in an experience that's practically unique. It'll be 2 weeks until the final episode is released on YouTube. I know it's an independent series, it was made for the internet and all that. But the animation quality has improved a lot since the pilot, and the more we watched each episode, the more we noticed the quality. Their attention to detail in the production went way beyond with each part of its release, making it so that, for example, it could stand side by side with productions made for Hollywood. So we can already imagine that this would be a way to respect the work, but also to respect your experience. Man, life is made of experiences, you know? The ticket price is something that, because it's so low, you can get that money back later, you know? Money is always circulating. The only thing we can't get back is time, and of course our health. And man, dedicating your time to have an experience like this. It's way better than just watching it on a phone screen, which is tiny. You're going to miss details. I know they do it for the internet, but the quality has improved so much. And they worked so hard to release this in theaters. I think it's a shame because they're just gonna miss this chance. So like, enjoy it. I know I've seen comments from people here on the channel saying they canceled their tickets. That's because the leaked version has bad visual quality. But the audio is mixed, like, it was already finished, it was already in the hands of the distributor, to deliver it to Glitch, to combine the files and send them to the theaters. So, and I know it's tough, Because Brazilians have gotten used to really bad audiovisual quality. Because we have the worst cell phones, the worst computers, the worst cameras, but the audio is good, and since the audio is good, people just accept it. And they think that's the full experience. Man, let me tell you, watch the final version, okay? I know there was a story about some people saying that oh wow, the leak is incomplete, there will be extra scenes in the theatrical version at the end of episode 9, but honestly, I'm being real here. I don't think that's the case, okay? I think what we saw is the definitive version. For a twist like that to happen would be crazy. But still, watch it in the theater. That's what's really going to be worth it for you. But is this the end of the circus? Man, honestly, I don't think so, okay? We know that the digital circus went super viral in recent years, and their merch made them sell a lot of stuff throughout each of these episodes that were released. Seriously, every time, a character showed up with a different hat, there was a new toy to sell, and then with all this drama and all the buzz around the creator, people started to criticize Glitch because of their excessive effort to sell things, merch, plushies, anything. Seriously, just with Pomini, there must be about 30 different Pomini, but people started to complain, especially with this here. The pilot episode, for example, of Game Over, already Game Over so. It's a pilot. It's not a series that's confirmed to have a sequel and more episodes, but there are already a lot of merch items for sale here. Actually, man, I really want the Gumballs and his Game Boy cartridge, because man, this is really cute. I wish I had the money to buy this along with Gumi Gummy Goo. That would be perfect. The thing is, these productions, they're made and funded, with your merch money. Are YouTube views good? Do they pay well? They pay when you're just one person. If you work with a team, you need to make a lot of sales and do a lot of promotion. They don't advertise, for example, for other products from other companies. They advertise their own animation products. What I think is fair is the system Disney started using back in the 1930s when they used to pirate products with Mickey, and Walt Disney noticed and started to, He had his company sell officially licensed products there. 100 years ago, So, this is something we need to understand. Yeah, I know animation is beautiful. Oh, animation is art. The artist, all of that is romanticized, But in the end, it's always money that's involved in producing these episodes, And if there are no sales, that's the kind of thing that ends up harming the project. That's why I say that I think Circo Digital might end up continuing with some side project, even if the creator isn't involved. But understand, the creator is still the creator, and she's a partner in the production. There are hierarchies here. The one who produced it was Glitch. And I imagine that Glitch will want to keep, selling Circo Digital merch. Just like Mother Drones, which apparently ended, unless they confirm a new season, but we end up seeing new things coming out. Clips, new products. So, I imagine they'll do more things. Yeah, I think so too. Because they've already said there could be a 10th episode with deleted scenes. Or even a spin-off series, who knows? Exploring different characters or moments from the circus before Pomeranian showed up. It would be interesting, it would be cool, it would be good. We don't know how this will turn out. Things have been tense since the digital circus began, and many people have been freaking out. Precisely because it's a delicate situation. The leak happened. That made the creator a target of attacks, even though people knew it was her project that got leaked. And even so, a lot of people started freaking out because of it. Let's be honest. The thing is, you just need to stay calm and patient, right? It's like I always say, stay calm and everything will work out. Wait until the 4th and watch the movie in theaters. And then you'll have the real experience of all this. Anyway, I talked about a lot of topics here. But man, it's a very delicate and tense situation, right? I discussed this more on the RK Play channel, where I post random content. Here I just wanted to address this point, especially since I've talked a lot about the circus. Over 200 videos, that's a lot. Thank you, and see you in the next video.